Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines we have for you here. BRICS is making big moves, and you won't believe the country that wants to join now. We're going to get into it. And how about this? If BRICS is making big moves, so is Ripple. Oh, you're going to want to know this. And how about XRP? $1.20 or 41 cents? Uh-oh. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it's $2.46 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 0.5%. Remember, we were stuck at about $1 trillion not too long ago for a cryptocurrency market cap, and now at 2.46 trillion. The market is creeping back up to where it was collectively. So pay attention to how much water is coming into the bathtub here. 62,300 plus for Bitcoin with $1.2 trillion market cap. 3,400 for Ethereum right now, and 99.1 billion plus market cap for Tether. XRP back at the number 6 spot at 62 cents, off by 1.8 in the 24, but up by 15.2% on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly between 0.5953 on the bottom and 0.6448 on the top. We will continue to monitor it as we move forward, but let's get through all of this right now as Charles Hoskinson voices his support for XRP lawyer John Deaton, who is running for senator in Massachusetts to replace Elizabeth Warren, who is a political hack that has been bought and paid for by the banks. We love seeing Charles put his support behind John Deaton, as we all are as well. I hope that Charles also decides to unblock me and others who have never said a cross word about him while we've watched him cuss us and David Schwartz in this space. It's quite odd. Nevertheless, we'll take the support. Caitlin Long right here, who is a huge advocate for crypto and fighting very hard for this space every day herself, says, look who I'll be introducing at Ethereum Denver main stage. And that is so amazing. And shout out to Caitlin and all that she does for this space and banking. We know she's had her fair share of uphill climbs in that regard too. But let's listen to our own John Deaton right here as he lays down why he's running for Senate. And it's amazing. What a great speech this is.
People ask me, why am I running? Let me tell you, I'm from a place called Highland Park, Detroit, one of the most violent neighborhoods in America for the last 40 years. A single mother on welfare and food stamps who struggled to put food on the table. And I'm telling you, I listened to my mother cry at night on the nights that she couldn't put food on the table. And I experienced that kind of pain, and I experienced that kind of shame that she had. So when you look at me, I vowed to break that cycle of poverty, and I worked very hard, and I did it. So when you see me, you're looking at the living embodiment of the American dream, and I see it dying before me. Now, my foray into crypto is very personal to me. My mother on welfare, we didn't have basically direct deposit. She got a hard check. And the banks, as you know, put fees on you if you break the minimum deposit. She couldn't afford to keep $10 or whatever it was. So the predatory banks, of course, just add fees. So my mother at 9, 10 years old, I watched her go to the check cashing stores that you see in the hood. And I listened to my mother beg them to take only half of the fee. When I was in college and I wanted to send my mother money home to help with my younger siblings, I had to go through Western Union. I had to go through MoneyGram, and they took 10, 12%. And so that was my first introduction to financial services in America. When I read the Bitcoin white paper in 2016, I thought of my mom, and I thought, wow, you can eliminate the predatory actions of the bank. You can eliminate the MoneyGrams and the Western Unions. And to me, it became uplifting. I thought about capitalism and how freedom could be spread across the world. Now, my opponent has a bill that bans Bitcoin self-custody and crypto in the United States of America. Okay? Now, I want you to ask yourself something. With illegal immigration, with the debt crisis where half Americans don't have $500 set aside in case of an emergency, with the opioid crisis, with income inequality, why? Why is Elizabeth Warren running on an anti-crypto platform? And I'll give you the answer. 12 years ago, she said that she was going to Washington, D.C. to hold the bankers accountable.
But listen.
She was outraged that no banker went to prison from the 2008 financial crisis. Well, fast forward a decade, who just wrote her bill? Jamie Dimon and the Banking Institute wrote her anti-crypto bill. So, she is the epitome of Washington, D.C. You go to fight the bankers, you can't beat them, so you join them and you become their #1 lobbyist.
Boom.
Listen, I know some of you think that she is entrenched Washington, D.C. elite and she can't be beat. She can be. I'm not the only one who believes that I can beat her. I put $500,000 of my own money to start this campaign because I know I can beat her. Now, I can't self-fund the entire thing, and I'm going to need some help. But you want to know who else believes I can beat her? Elizabeth Warren. Because since I announced, she has emailed 5 times. She's got senators from Connecticut saying, this guy, John Deaton, is a problem. Fox Business did a segment that was called, Why is Elizabeth Warren so scared of this new guy, this unknown person? If I could fund it, I would. So my reason I'm here is I can't do it alone. And it's not my strength to ask for help. Trust me, it's probably my weakest part of being a candidate, but I have to get better at it. So I'm asking you to help me. If you go to John Deaton for Senate and make any donation you can, she won't outwork me. I promise you that. She'll outraise me, but if I'm competitive, I'm going to win this race. And if you go to John Deaton for Senate, you can donate regular, but I also accept crypto through Coinbase Commerce, MetaMask, or whatever. So that's all I want to say. I know they're getting ready for RFK Jr., but thank you for having me, and I'll see you in D.C.
There you have it right there. That's our very own John Deaton. And you can support him at johndeatonforsenate.com, as I have and will continue to do so. Let's get this man in there because he knows exactly what needs to happen, and he is a real leader. Now, let's get past that, and let's get to this. This is about decentralized theater. Listen to Blockchain Association's Jake Travinsky break this down right here, and I think he's got this, Digital Asset Investors got this right, but listen to this clip.
That is, in a way, a good description of the term that Tracy used, which is decentralization theater. And I think it's important to talk about that just a little bit, because I think what a lot of people do is they ignore the way that I, again, think about decentralization, which is the absence of some central party that has some privileged role in the ecosystem. And what they want to do in the scope of decentralization theater is pretend like they are not playing that role, but then continue playing that role anyway, usually for regulatory purposes, but sometimes also for community signaling purposes or other reasons. And I think that that is a huge mistake. Just like Jesse said, both operationally, I think it causes a lot of problems at a point when it is not necessary, when as a founder you need to be building as opposed to dealing with a community of token holders who are causing headaches for a bunch of reasons. And also, like I said, it's not always necessary. So, and I think that ultimately if you have conversations with regulators, your attempt to pull off decentralization theater will actually give you more trouble in the end than just being honest about what you're doing.
Yep, being honest about what you're doing, I'm not so sure about that, Jake. Ripple tried being honest and transparent, and that didn't work out so well for them. Over 100 to 200 million in legal fees later. Best advice until Congress does its job, move offshore. Sorry, but that's the truth. Now let's switch to some Ripple XRP news very quickly here. Now we know the expansion and the introduction of ETFs, spot Bitcoin ETFs, have taken off like a rocket. And that is going to be a continued development, I believe, into a full-blown market of not just Bitcoin, but crypto ETFs, basket ETFs. There's going to be tons of different products coming. You can bet on it. Index ETF, it's all coming. You can see it. This is just the beginning. But that also means that in order to do all of this smoothly, you're going to be making payments, transactions, and more they will become digital. And understanding that, we switch from introducing a new set of investment products like ETFs, for which I believe will be XRP and thousands of other cryptos. But I want to look at the idea and understanding that we know Ripple and XRP are set up to serve the world in settling payments and moving value, whether we're talking about clearing and settling derivatives or whether we're talking about just making cross-border payments, right? So we know Ripple releases $1 billion every month out of escrow. They use what they need to for operating expenses and expansion and things of that nature. And then to the back of the contract, the remainder of the escrow goes, right? I want to run you through this very quickly here as Ripple unlocks 500 million XRP in March. According to Data Whale Alert, it says here that Ripple deviated from the monthly schedule program set for its XRP escrow services. Typically, Ripple usually unlocks 1 billion XRP for the first day of each month before putting back 800 million in the escrow wallets. The tokens are unlocked in 3 tranches, 500 million, 400 million, and 100 million tokens or coins, respectively. After the 1 billion tokens are unlocked, Ripple locks back 800 million in escrow in 3 transactions of 500, 200, and 800 million, 100 million, completing a total of 800 million, right? So like last month, Whale Alert Service did not index Ripple's token unlock of 1 billion XRP. Upon further analysis, Crypto Basic discovered that Ripple unlocked 500 million in March on March 1st. So they have a few more tranches that they could open before putting it all back in that regard. But what I'm showing you here is not something that is unfamiliar to any of us. But the reason I'm showing it is because this is good, sound monetary policy. That's the way I see this. Just like the Fed releases a certain amount of treasuries and then buys a certain amount back, right? Only this is better. Now let's look at the geopolitical landscape, because what I believe you're seeing with Ripple and XRP, the digital asset, is the introduction of how you begin to prime the pump or the value protocol to introduce liquidity and utility to that network, to that value protocol. And why would we be doing this at all? Well, because since Ripple's inception and the XRP ledger's inception, I believe it has been designed to deal with the moment that we are quickly headed to now, which is a very fractionalized payment world. Mexico now wants to join BRICS also. Now, we just saw United Arab Emirates, Iran, and Saudi Arabia join, and other countries. We know that 80% of the world's oil production is now inside BRICS coalition. And they want to bring in, Mexico wants to join now. How do you deal with all of this fractionalized payment world that's starting to unite the way it didn't before? BRICS is also predicting major bank hard landing recession for the United States. Can't talk this morning. A hard landing recession. What happened to the soft landing? Remember, we were supposed to get. It was supposed to be a soft. If we have a recession, they said, it'd be a soft landing. Now, major bank is predicting a hard landing for the United States. Well, that hard landing is going to be hyperinflation. We're not in a real estate default swap crisis now like we were in 08, 09. No, this is a dollar crisis. This is a dollar problem. Look, this is why I'm asking all of you to seriously consider making the investment to coming to XRP Las Vegas now. Yeah, it's real. I'm making the pitch to you. Why? Because I'm going to sit down in a fireside chat with Chris Giancarlo, the co-founder of the Digital Dollar Project, and we're going to talk about these impending factors on the dominance of the US dollar and how the government can move in a way to make sure that the US dollar remains dominant as we move into a new digital age. And I do believe with the introduction of assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR and others, right? This is where we're going. Look how fast the world is moving to these things. So it's not just us dealing with a recession, a printing problem with the money. There's also the world is aware of this. China is pushing BRICS bloc of emerging markets to become a full-scale rival to the G7. And in fact, they will, because by 2030, they will be outpacing the G7 in GDP at the rate BRICS is growing. How do you combat that? It starts with how do you move money around the world. Back in the day, in the olden days, he who had the gold makes the rules. Cristiano Carlos said it one time in a conference, and we're going to talk about it again. He who controls the payment rails runs the world. Are you with me? Listen to Brad Garlinghouse lay it down.
Payment flow that might be going from dollar to Mexican peso, and you're holding a dollar, you're selling that dollar and buying XRP, you're moving that XRP across the XRP ledger to, let's say, Bitso, who's here in the audience today. You're selling the XRP and you're buying Mexican peso. By enabling that liquidity to move from dollar to peso in real time, you're changing how that oil is greasing the engine of correspondent banking. So for us, in a world of hype, in a world of experimentation, in a world where people talk about the opportunity and really the speculation of digital assets, we feel like XRP is the only digital asset really poised to solve a problem at scale, a global payments problem.
And there you have it right there, right? And look, I know we all know this, but the reason I'm showing it again is really twofold today. One, they go a step further. Let's stay here for a second, and I hope you're still with me. Because if you're going, Brad, I know all of it. Well, you know what? I'm showing you this because this is how freaking close we are. Now, he just told you what XRP is designed to do. Handle the payments at scale for the world. And I just showed you how the world is becoming more fractionalized by the day through BRICS coalition growing like a weed. And then here we see Ripple acts out on the idea that the world is taking shape the way that we just looked at. As HSBC releases that they announced that they're going to be launching a new digital asset custody service with institutional clients who invest in tokenized securities, and they're going to be using Medico to get that done. And we know that Ripple also bought Medico. We know that Ripple also bought Standard Custody and Trust Company. Because that is a real action that shows you where Ripple believes the real next step is going to be. You don't go out and make purchases of companies that can take care of custody, which is a foundational block in order to introduce institutions to this space, unless you believe as a company that they're about to need all of that custody service. And they're going to. They're going to. Listen to this quick clip here from David Schwartz confirming the tokenization of real-world assets is coming, and the need for custody is absolutely now.
Ripple trying to be like a sort of one-stop shop for institutional adoption of crypto, and institutions are going to be the main drivers. So you need some place to store it. If there's CBDCs, if there's stable coins, people are going to need places to store them. They're going to need connections to on-ramps and off-ramps, payments, liquidity services. We looked at many different companies, and then in May we acquired Medico. But Medico has so much more than they have those things of layered services with compliance. They have this possibility for a tokenization platform, and this integrating it with payments and liquidity. HSBC they plan to offer a custody service for digital assets to their clients. It's kind of like a layering service. What's great about that is HSBC can do the sort of compliance part for them. And they're looking at things like digital asset insurance, tokenized commodities like gold, tokenized securities. HSBC is extremely interested in those types of projects. Their Orion project, which was a tokenized gold. Ripple.
And I mean, listen, tokenized gold, derivatives, security, right? I mean, it tickles me when I hear people saying, oh, Ripple's failed or whatever. I'm like, well, Ripple doesn't believe they failed. That's why they bought 2 gigantic custody solutions to offer it in-house under their own roof to institutional clients who, I guess people think this is not going to happen. Well, what the hell did they buy all of this for? Of course it's going to happen. We've just never known when. And speaking of never knowing, just like never knowing when the price is going to go crazy or not, but we're certainly grateful for all of the direction and indicators and work that these technical analysts do, like Eggrad Crypto. I really am grateful for them. And we know that $7, $15, $30 range is a target range that people have talked about for a very long time. And we know that getting above $1.20 or $2 mark is certainly super bullish for all of us. But I wanted to show you something on here that people don't like to look at, which is that 41-cent mark right there. Be prepared for XRP to take that one last dip if we are, in fact, going to the moon. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I hope you'll join us in the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my, oh my. The United Nations again. I have said it for a very long time how dark and wicked this organization is. And you're about to get another peep of that right now inside the Freedom Zone. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I hope you'll join us at digitalperspectives.com. Come on in. All